Hello there. I'm very happy to be back in this program. This is your program again, The Standpoint, and I'm so excited to have here on my left side. Let me start on my left side. As usual, we do have our co-host, who is
Edna. Hello guys, how are y'all doing? So welcome back to The Standpoint.
Wow, how do you feel, Edna?
Well, excited for today's topic. We always have our topics here, so there's no, it's always the same.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
On our right side, we also have a guest, a special one, and I do believe you guys are going to like it so much. This
And
program is
learn.
going to be, of course,
Especially learn.
because you can't like something whereas you didn't learn anything from it.
Yeah.
That's what I think, but it depends also upon people and individuals.
Yes, welcome.
So let's welcome our dear, who can introduce herself actually.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gloria Nyambok. I'm the proprietor of Casameza from Kenya, 10 years in Burundi, and I'm really happy to be here.
Wow, you've become a Burundian. 10 years in Burundi.
I definitely feel at home. Yeah, I
And
do.
maybe you know some words in Kirundi, you know, like amahoro.
Boroboro.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah.
So guys, you have seen the people I'm with today, and this is, the standpoint. As I told you, we'll be talking about sexual education. We have seen that, there are some parents who have the values of not, talking about sex ed, where there are some other who feel comfortable when they are talking about, that concept. And as we have seen, it's really like a challenge, and like the stats that I got from the province of Kayanza, which is lived by a lot of people in this country, that province we have 29 drops out because of the pregnancy,
Yeah.
that are not really willing,
Unwanted.
unwanted,
Yeah, that's
of
why
course.
we won't really we won't focus only on the we'll talk. Well, I guess we'll tackle the sexual education at home, but also at school, because
Of course,
if
yeah.
if that should be taught in school, if children should learn that even in their early ages.
Yeah, of course, we cannot confine ourselves in
Yes.
only place, but I was just trying to, to call the attention of people that this is, a major problem that is happening in our society.
Yeah.
Then,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially in the African, maybe, okay, I don't know. I don't think it's only Burundian
No,
society. I think
no.
it's the whole Africa
No.
that still struggles with that, right?
Yes, it's a cross-cutting problem, and it's important for us to know that we are like the other parts of Africa, so we face the same challenges and the same problems.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
okay, that's really great, and I hope people will learn a lot from this. We're gonna
course,
try
they
to shed
will.
some light over that.
Okay.
And my first question will be, why do some parents shy away from tackling the subject?
That's an interesting question. I think it's all about probably their own upbringing, what they've been exposed to, their culture, depending, their religious upbringing, all these things, they play a role, in whether somebody feels comfortable to talk or not. I think in most of the African cultures before, it wasn't the role of a parent to actually educate a child on some of these topics. Normally we would have an auntie or an uncle or somebody, or some kind of initiation ceremony where, the young people would be taken through some of these conversations. So now when we have some of those things falling away, then it becomes a little bit complicated for some parents to feel comfortable. I think also in African culture, I think most of them, it may be different in some. There's that element of you have to respect, and distance between you and your children and certain things. There are certain thoughts that are not supposed to come in your mind, relating your parents, relating your kids.
Yeah.
So it's somebody else who is supposed to come in and have that conversation.
Yeah,
So when you have culture falling away, and then probably from a religious perspective, I think as Christians, it's not a very easy topic for us to talk about. In the old Christian environment, it was a taboo subject. So It's some of these things. I think that is what happens. And I think just to address the other thing you mentioned, that yes, there are some people who are a bit more progressive and probably feel the importance of educating their children on some of these sensitive topics.
Yeah, okay. Well, you mentioned religion, but I don't know, but I don't feel like religion has something to do with that. I think it's mostly culture. If I may give an example of maybe the Burundian society, the way our mothers, fathers, grandmothers, or great-grandmothers were raised, there isn't that maybe friendship between the parent and the kid. And for you to, like, for a parent to bring that kind of conversations, that kind of topics like sex and everything, you must have some kind of special bond with your kid, you know, so to avoid that awkwardness and to feel comfortable to talk about that. So I think you've mentioned something, the upbringing, the background and everything. I think that's here in Burundi, it's mostly the one thing that actually keeps that's the two things that keep the parents from telling their children straightforward about, or to educate them about sex and all the things that comes with it. Yeah.
No, I think you're right, you know, because we are talking about different generations here, okay? Before, people used to be brought up by a village. Now you're not brought up by a village, you're in town, you know.
Yeah.
So times have changed, you know, we don't have that kind of others to come in, and then we are transitioning, you know, to that point of understanding that you need to have that relationship, to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it is a transition. You're quite correct, you know, we are transitioning from an old way of doing things to a new way of doing things.
Yeah, I think it's because, you know, things have changed. That was then, and today with internet and everything, you know, so many things. I think we actually teach ourselves some things through internet, and that also happens to kids, like teenagers and everything. So maybe that's the reason why nowadays parents prefer to tell them even before they get there. They get to learn them from the internet.
Yes.
And you've also said something about they used to pass by aunties or even uncles to transmit a message. You know, some are actually even left out. They don't know anything.
Yes.
Like, they learn things when they experience them. That's why you've talked about pregnancies.
Pregnancies.
You see, maybe those people learned sex, or maybe all the things that come with that when they got pregnant. They didn't know if you have sex with someone you can get pregnant.
Yes.
You see, yeah. So
I think what you raise is a very, very important point. I think as parents, we need to understand and appreciate that times have changed. You know, we had to shift from what we are used to and look at this new generation of children that we're bringing up and see how do we engage with them. Because it's really important, as you rightly say, if you do not educate the child, then the child can get into a problem. You know, if you're ignorant about somebody, how can someone blame you when you get into a problem? So it's important. I even feel from a young age to start sensitizing children, you know, about their bodies, all right? And there's a reason why I say that. There's language that we must use, but we must always remember we also don't live in the best of environments. Not everybody is good. So you need to also educate a child from very young that your body is precious. Somebody should not just, you know, touch, or if somebody is trying to touch your body, you need to be open about it. Because, you know, you get children being abused, really, you know, and they don't know what's happening. And you can imagine the trauma that continues through life. So as parents, it's very important for us to actually start finding language.
You know, it raised a question in me, and because I know there are many young girls or many young boys. Sometimes you find a boy, you just find, you know, in the morning you find there is a night emission, and you find maybe a lady, you know, discovers some, you know, try to understand her body on her period, first period, and she's really surprised. So, by question, if a reason so personal, you know, because I see you from different generation. I see.
Yeah,
What
but
is,
we
I mean,
share some
yeah, of
kind
course.
of-
I would like to know, I mean, your first experience about sex education. I mean, who taught you, I mean, sex education? Where did you, I mean, because I know there are some many young guys. Sometimes you find they are learning from whispers, you find they are learning from, you know, in the streets, you know, whereas their parents should do it before they get to know
Well,
that from outside.
I wouldn't say that my mother sat me down and talked to me about sex and everything. No, I wouldn't say that, or even periods. As I said, those kind of things. About periods, I don't really remember how it happened, but I think she used to tell my big sister to tell me about that. You see, that's actually what she said.
Yes.
They prefer to pass by someone else instead of going straight forward. So yeah, because my sister is 2 years older than me, so she used to tell me about periods and everything. But about sex and everything, I don't really think I was taught in school, because I think in 9th grade we have that biology class whereby we are told some reproduction organs and everything, what happens, and even those periods we learn them from the 9th grade. But there's also the last year of high school, we are also in the biology class. We also learn about those things. So I would say, okay, I was taught that in school rather than at home. Yeah, and also from the people, like the friends, the neighborhood, and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
No, actually, I think it's kind of the same, let me call it accident that continues.
Yes.
Because, yeah, definitely, of course, as you mentioned, when we go to school, even in primary school, you will have those kids who have more information than other kids, and they start sharing. So I went through that experience, yes, you know, getting to hear and getting very shocked to understand, you know, what do you mean that this is what happens, what exactly do you mean? And from the whispers, then we had a couple of classes in primary school. I think it's similar to you, but we are talking about very many years ago in Kenya now, but we had the same process. And also in high school, the same process. But I had a conversation. Interestingly enough, it is my father who gave me, he chose his words very well. He chose his words very well, because he just tried to tell me that, you know, you are getting to a stage where you see boys getting a bit of interest in you, and, you know. So he put it in a way that, of course, I already had some information. So I didn't give him stress of, I look ignorant. You know, I just kind of said, yes, I understand, yes, I understand. But he made an effort, you know.
Yeah.
So I have never really thought about how come this conversation didn't happen with my mother.
It's weird though. It's weird.
Yeah, very
how you
strange.
felt.
I don't know.
It's really
I
strange.
never thought about it until now.
And you didn't feel uncomfortable when your father was telling you that?
No, because the way he put it was very, very
He said
respectful.
she said he chose
Yeah, he
his
chose his
words
words
very
very
well.
well.
Yes.
But still, if it's your okay, me, I would feel so uncomfortable. I'm
You know,
not
my
gonna
father,
lie.
my father was a professor in the university, and my father was very close to us as children, you know, and he played a very big role in our lives. So I think there was already that relationship, because I think you mentioned something earlier about being close to your child, and I believe we were close, and that's why he felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And I felt comfortable to the point that I didn't even think about it until now, that why was he the one, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact also he chose his words very well, as you said.
Yes.
It's, in order not to make you feel maybe uncomfortable and not to
Yeah.
create that awkwardness between you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. That's really yeah.
Yeah, that's it's in the African culture, and okay, I don't know if it will change, but with time it should change, because nowadays there's internet, and it affects a lot, mostly children, because these days they use it from their very young years, like when they're still really young, and that's where they learn most of the things.
Yeah.
There's school, but there's also internet.
Yeah.
If you use it well, you really learn, and if you don't use it well,
Yeah, you're much right, because nowadays you find, you know, children have much access to pornography,
Yeah.
you know, instead of like getting to know that from their parents or from, I mean, their relatives, people are close to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you can imagine what happens in that kid's mind. If has seen something, he'll definitely feel that need of maybe trying it and see
Yes.
what happens.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
You know, you're so right. You know, because as we said earlier that we are in transition, times are changing. We are no longer living near our relatives. We are now isolated within our own family units. Maybe one of the things I can share, an experience that we have in Kenya, is because of the size of maybe a city like Nairobi, you spend so many hours in embouteillage,
Yeah.
isn't it? So you leave home very early in the morning. The kid is also going to school. By the time you come back, the kid may be sleeping. So the kid is either being brought up by a maid or being brought up by a teacher.
Yeah.
And you never know what messages are being passed or what information is being passed. This is in addition to internet,
Yeah.
you see. So it's very important to keep touch with your children, to understand and have these conversations. I mean, I'm absolutely for it.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
that this conversation needs to change and parents need to own it.
Yeah, and
To-
and I think, and as you create that kind of friendship, that's even whereby you learn the languages. You know, you said how you have to, you as a parent, you have to know how you transmit some messages to your kid. You have to know the language to use depending on the
I was also coming to that, you know, this is the question that was following. What is the right age and the right content to use when we are addressing ourselves to children, when we want to educate them about that issue?
You go ahead first.
I was waiting for you. I want to listen from you.
That's a very interesting question. What age? Before I go into the content, I think I said earlier, I think we have to start getting children to understand that some parts of their bodies must be protected, because you want to protect them against any bad person that may want to do something to them, and also encourage them to open up if such a thing happens. So I feel from a pretty young age, but you see, you don't have to give all the information.
Yeah.
You just maybe tell a child that, or the way you tell a child you have to be clean, wash yourself properly, and things like that. You also say, like, you have to protect yourself. If somebody is trying to touch you, don't allow them, those kind of conversations. So there you're not giving them the biological lesson per se. But I think as they start growing older and as they start learning these things in school, then you have to pick up also the conversation, reinforce what is being taught in the school, because at times I think also what is being taught in school doesn't cover also a whole bunch of emotions and hormones and all those kind of things. So as a parent, this is the role where you come in and say, you probably feel so excited about something or about somebody, or you think you're in love, those kind of things. You have to find the language, which means you have to have a relationship, build a relationship with your child so that you know how to talk to your child. Not all children are the same.
Yeah.
Some can take direct messages. Others will just be fragile, and you have to know your child.
Yeah.
That's the way I'd look at it.
Yeah, okay, it's also the same way I'd look at it. And you also, I think what I can add up on what you said, it's like creating a safe space whereby even the child, if maybe at school he was touched in an appropriate way, he's able or she's able to tell you freely that someone touched me this way and this way and this way. And that will happen if only you tell her, like if you go straight to her and start teaching her about that, like educate her about the giving her sexual education and everything. I think that's where she will feel comfortable coming and telling you that this and this happened, this and this happened. Because I think for some people it happens, but they don't feel safe to say it.
Yeah.
I can't tell my mom this happened. I can't tell my dad this happened. Why? Because the first question would be, how did you know about that?
Yes.
You see,
Yes.
now that's why they can't feel safe, they can't be comfortable to start talking about that.
Then how can somebody create that safe space? I mean,
Yeah.
when a child can feel, free to speak, and also the parent can feel also free to tackle that issue.
I think parents, they first of all have to know that time have changed. We're no longer in 1990 something. We're in 2022. The internet has taken over everything. Yeah, so you have to feel comfortable. You have to feel comfortable telling your kid, because those are your children. If something happens tomorrow, so the blame will be
What
on
I would
you.
say is, yes, that's correct. We need to have parents who try to open up and listen. But for me, it's about where are we going as a society. So when we have these conversations, we are talking to people who are going to be future parents. Okay, so it's very important, even if we know maybe things have not gone so right in the past, we start thinking about ourselves as future parents, educating ourselves why it's important to build that close relationship with your child. Even going as far as analyzing what was your experience. If you had a bad one, what would you do differently? So to me, it's about where we are going, as future parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I also share the same view. In addition to what I said, that parents have to understand that time have changed, and these days we need to say things, to open up and tell our children. I mean, I don't have children, but talking about parents.
You will get, don't worry.
Yes, of course. Like, they have to feel comfortable to tell their children how things are, without really being shy or feeling that fear. Like, I think what maybe freaks them out to tell them about those things, it's maybe they think, if I start telling him or her about this, she'll go and start trying it.
But
Maybe
then
that's the reason.
But you need to know your child. You see, if you
Exactly.
don't educate your child and give your child the tools, to deal with the world, who else can you blame? I mean, if you don't inform them that there is a hole there, you're going to fall, why should you cry if they fall? No.
Yeah.
You see, it's about equipping somebody. It's about educating somebody. It's about giving them the tools to deal with the world from a position of knowledge.
Yeah, true.
You see, and
Absolutely.
then you bring up your child. You have to bring them up and make sure you teach them to understand what's important. Even the importance of keeping yourself before. I believe that one should only engage in sex when you're married. That's my belief, and there's a reason behind it. It's just that there's so much drama. Before you get married, all these boyfriends and girlfriends that you meet and all this, it's just messy.
So you see, that boyfriend and girlfriend here in Burundi doesn't exist. Now you can tell your mom you have a boyfriend or you have a girlfriend at a certain age, like if you are maybe a teen or anything. That puberty phase. Yeah, there's that fear of telling your mom, I have someone. It's like, you have someone? You are in 7th grade and you're telling me you have someone? You see, that's now.
But you see, the point is, from me, I would rather know who is this.
Of course.
What kind of an influence is this on my child? What kind of a character? What kind of a family is that? You see, those are the kind of things
that's
you
how
need
it
to
should
know.
be. I think that's how it should be. But now, maybe the way our parents were raised, it's still something that can't be talked about.
So when you get your kids, don't bury your heads in the sand.
No, I think now we have changed with generation. Now it has changed. I think
it is
these days
changing. It is changing.
Or maybe it is changing.
slowly.
Yeah.
But let's keep maintaining the pace.
Yeah.
And there's something that Madame said that kept my attention. You actually said that we need to know how our society is moving and where our society is going.
It's heading,
yeah, it's heading. And you just even tagged the point at the end of your point, where you said you don't believe in sex before marriage. Like we see now many young people, even in new marriages, they are no longer caring about virginity. It's something that people do not really consider. They just, have to marry, and that's simple. It's simple as that. So, do you think virginity has its place now? Do you think is it worth to stay virgin, or
I could answer that from this perspective. I think there's a time it went out of fashion, but it seems to be, the fashion seems to be coming back.
Oh.
That's the way I see it with the younger people like you. I know there's that movement, and for me it's really a practical one. It's really a practical one from that relationship perspective. It's hard enough finding the right person who you get on with well and who you rhyme with. Then you see, if you start mixing up so many things, this is just my personal view, others may not agree with me. Life is so much easy if you deal with just one issue. Are you the one or you're not the one? What are your values? Who are you? What kind of a person are you? You see, because if you mix up issues, you may mix too many of the emotions and then not make a smart choice in terms of a life partner. And that's why I believe there's no hurry in Africa. If somebody cannot wait, you need to be asking, who is this? If someone cannot respect that this is the way I value myself until I'm sure, if it's the right person, they should be able to understand that.
Yeah, sure. Does they share the same opinion?
Yeah, definitely. If the Bible says it, that means it's much worth it to keep it till your marriage. But if maybe I don't look at it in that spiritual way, for me it's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. But as Gloria said, if someone is rushing you to have sex before marriage, you should ask yourself, like, what's the reason behind? Because there must be some kind of reasons that you wouldn't want to deal with.
You see the problem. We started this conversation with unwanted pregnancies. We might end it that way.
Yeah.
This is what happens. You get people who are not well understanding, they have not been well educated. You find now you have somebody is on the way, you see. And then what? It comes with a whole host of other issues, you see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I will conclude with this, sentence that I heard from somebody. She actually said that, hard conversations make life easy, whereas easy conversations make life hard.
Absolutely.
Which means
that's how it is.
Yeah, which means parents should dare to talk about that, sexual education, because once they do it, they are preparing the future of their children, and they are also helping the community. And once the community is helped, also the country is helped, and the whole world can benefit from that.
It's actually what Gloria said. It's about equipping your kids to deal with the world. Because you can't you can't protect her, you can't protect him or her from that. She or he must live. And for you to make sure that at least he goes on the right path or she goes on the right path, you must equip her with all that we said.
Okay, Gloria, do you have a last say before Edna maybe put an end to the program?
No, I think, I've really enjoyed having this conversation, and I'm just encouraging the young people who are out there, think of who you are going to be as a parent. This is, if that message or that lesson is passed from this conversation, I believe we'll have achieved something very important.
Thank you very much. We can't really, have the word to express our gratitude for your presence here.
Call her even in the next
we'll welcome you. We are passionate about economy, businesses, young people.
So my first love is young people.
Okay. So we shall call you often.
No, Turekumwe.
That's good. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you to all of you guys who are watching us. I hope you learned something from this, and please, we want your opinion in the comment sections, and please stay tuned for the next show. Bye-bye.
Bye.